From the Opubco Studios in Oklahoma City, you're watching The Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Barry Trammell. Time for our weekly 5 and 5 segment. We've got a best theme going on this week, Barry. We're going to talk about the best of OU and OSU, the best of the available coaching jobs out there in college football, the best spectacles between you and me, and I'll explain more as we get there. But let's talk about this spectacle first. Bedlam on Saturday. Barry, was that the best Bedlam of all time?
Well, I mean, it's certainly on the list, and anybody that says it is, you really, you can't argue. I might go with the 1988 game, the Brent Parker game, the Mike Gaddis game, the Garrett Limbrick game, the Mike Gundy game, all kinds of great things, wild things in 88 when the Sooners won 31-28. 83 was phenomenal, the big OU comeback. 2001, the OSU upset. I might vote that one just because that one came out of the blue and you thought, where did this come from? But certainly Saturday was phenomenal. Going overtime, offensive just running all over the place, Sooners coming from behind the whole day. It certainly is up there. I'd probably vote 1988.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to go 2001. I know that it was not sort of maybe the most spectacularly played game. It was 16-13. I think the score is well known. But there's some people that would say what happened on Saturday wasn't the best played game ever either because you didn't have much in the way of defense. So I thought that 16-13 game had drama. It had high stakes. I wasn't really paying attention back in the 80s, so I'll defer to you on things back there. But at least with the games I've seen and been around for in the last, say, 15 years or so, I like that 2001 game. But I tell you, we had no idea what was going to happen on Saturday, and we got a game where we had no idea what was going to happen. All right, Barry, what about this one? Best coaching vacancy available right now in college football. What is it? I'm
going to say Tennessee. The Vols have been a little bit asleep for 5 years, but there was a time when Tennessee had the best program in the SEC East, right there with Florida, certainly ranked on a level with Alabama, ahead of LSU. They've fallen, still got a great fan base. Now, the recruiting ground is not great in Tennessee. They got to go elsewhere, but they're close to Georgia. They're close to Alabama. They can get to Florida. I think Tennessee is a place you can go and win again. So I think Auburn is a cesspool. I think Arkansas is annually overrated. I'm going to go with Tennessee. Yeah, I like Tennessee too. I think they're the best available job right now. But I'll tell you what, there's some other interesting ones. The list is about 12 or 13 schools long at this point. There's sure to be more, but that's a pretty sizable amount of openings at this point. I think Arkansas, with the right fit, could be a really good job. They clearly have the finances to pull it off, to be right there. They can recruit. We've seen that. Obviously, they need somebody to bring that talent along. We haven't seen them sort of put it all together like they look like they should on a more consistent basis. But I tell you, a sleeper job I kind of think is intriguing, Barry, is Cal. Now, I know that you got to go to the Bay and you got to pay to live there. And I'm not sure about their finances, but in the Pac-12, we've seen that teams can rise. You've seen an Oregon State come up. You've seen, obviously, what Oregon has done, being the best in the conference. Stanford continuing to be really good. That's an interesting one to watch. I'll be watching, and I'm particularly watching Todd Monken, and maybe if his name gets linked to that one at all. It could be an interesting matchup there. All right, Barry. Well, speaking of local assistants, what is the local assistant coach with the best chance of getting a job out there? Well, I think it is Todd Monken. He was a hot commodity last year, hot again this year. People would say, well, he had Brandon Weeden and Justin Blackman. Well, now he's getting it done with a third-string quarterback. So Todd Monken obviously knows his stuff on offense. He's got a good resume. He's been a part of two really solid programs, LSU and OSU. Has the NFL experience that some people like. So he's got a really solid resume. He can win the press conference because he's a straight shooter. You like him when you talk to him. I think Todd's got a really good chance at a good job. Yeah, I think he does too, and I think he's going to play the cards to set up well for him. I don't think he's just going to jump at the first available job. I think he could have gotten the Illinois job a year ago when they were looking at him, but ended up that I just don't know if he really thought that was the best jump for him. I think he's going to wait and see what works for him. Like the Colorado job, while I think that's intriguing, they don't have much to spend. They're really
pretty poor out there when it comes to providing for their football team. So he's going to find the right fit for him, so maybe it doesn't happen this year. Another name I wouldn't be surprised to see pop up, Jay Norvell. He's a guy, again, you talk about some of the things that Todd Monken has going for him. I think Jay Norvell fits the same way. He doesn't sort of have that high profile, being the guy out front of the OU offense and the coordination that they do, but I think he is very good when it comes to dealing with people, players, other assistants. I think he'd be great with boosters. I think he's a name that you might see floated out there too. All right, Barry, our fun question of the week. All right, who's got the best glasses? You wear yours all the time. I only wear mine when I'm outside.
Well, or inside the press box, which is
well, is there not sun in the press box?
It was a thrill Saturday to cover a Bedlam game with Jackie Kennedy here, but for crying out loud. Clearly, I have the best glasses. There's not any question about that. I mean, these came, these are a $25 special. My brother got them for $25 in Vietnam. Bought them for me in Vietnam, which I checked, and when you do all the exchange rate and everything, these are actually worth $4,800. So I got the best specs. Although what's good for Jackie O, I mean, you got all worked up at us Saturday, but the truth of the matter is, getting compared to Jackie Onassis, it doesn't get much better than that. The definitive example of American style and grace.
A pillbox hat. What do you think? Could that work out for me?
That would be good. Yeah, that
By the way, those glasses, they might win, but how do you even see out of them? Folks, you can't see this, but the amount of grime on your glasses is unbelievable, Barry.
I see just fine. Thank you very much.
All right. Lastly, one more best, and it's between OU and OSU. So far, Barry, who's having the better season between these two teams?
Well, I think I think OU's having the better season. They might win the Big 12 outright, might go to the Fiesta Bowl, play Oregon. You can't argue with a season like that. More disappointing season, the Sooners, if they don't win the Big 12. OSU, in a rebuilding year, is going to finish tied for third or fourth in the Big third or fourth or tied for third in the Big 12. It's a phenomenal season in a rebuilding year. It's what I thought they would do. I thought the Cowboys would respond this way, but most people thought it would be a little bit of a step back. So it's been, to me, it's been a very encouraging season for the Cowboys. But the better season, it's the Sooners. They beat both of their rivals. They lost two disappointing games, but they're still in the running for the Big 12 title. So better, you got to go with the Sooners.
I think if you're looking at this as who's maybe taking the expectations or taking the talent that they have and maxing it out, I put OSU ahead of OU. I mean, look at all the injuries. If you'd have said before the season, Clint Shelf is going to start meaningful games, Tracy Moore is going to be gone for so much of the season that they're going to be able to medically redshirt him and have him back the next year. If you would have said those two things alone, most people would have said, my gosh, this season's going to be an utter and total disaster. That has not happened, and those two things have happened. So Oklahoma State has really found a way to continue to play at a high level, even though they've lost guys. To me, that's the sign of their depth, their talent, and also just getting guys to play well. So yeah, Oklahoma, they may finish, they may be a co-champ in the Big 12, and there's something to be said for that. But Oklahoma clearly had higher aspirations than this. Oklahoma State, even if they don't have all those guys hurt, if they would have headed to Baylor and had a chance to win 8 games, I think most people would have been happy for that. But after all that's happened, you got to like what Oklahoma State's done. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.